in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so our story of Neversong actually starts off with a little bit of a cutscene, but before that, it talks about, gives a nice little message from Atmos Games as well as Serenity Forge, saying that it gives a little warning that Neversong is a moving story of loss and hope. It contains themes including traumatic death that some may find emotionally upsetting. To those who suffer, know that you are not alone. Please ask for help. Great message to start. Unfortunately, with the speedrun, we do not get most of the content with the storyline, so it is a great game that you can actually play casually and really get a lot more of the story. But let's find out a little bit about our main characters, Ren and Peet.
His name was Peet. His world was grey until he found a friend one day. It was no normal friend he'd found. She was but the prettiest girl in town. From that day on, the summer bore adventures every single morn. Her name was Ren, so young and gay. She even had a small piano she'd play. From sharps and flats to middle C, she taught Peet to play and read. But on one fateful evening, when looking for some place to play, Peet
now we'll get our
and
first
Ren
peek of our main
stumbled
villain of the game, Dr. Smile.
onto
He's going to be in the
an
background of
abandoned
this cutscene here in just a few
asylum.
seconds.
And from
Kind of fades in just a little bit right here.
a face of white snatched poor Ren out of sight.
So Ren was taken
not like
while hanging out with
Ren at
Peet,
all.
and Peet
He was
actually falls
timid,
into a coma.
scared and small. And this was his last farewell, for Peet into a coma fell.
So now Peet wakes up in this area in front of a fireplace, and above the fireplace is actually hanging a portrait of Dr. Smile. And so we get introduced to our first couple of basic movements, which is jumping and examining. So we can see that we can jump a little bit, and we can examine the doors. Now the doors do have letters above them. We see that we just triggered an S, and then we also have another door over here, or we have an elevator, and we jump twice on the elevator to activate it, and then we continue jumping on it to make the elevator go just a little bit further, a little bit faster. So now we get an M, but we have to skip this next door to get an I, L, and then back to E. And now Dr. Smile actually comes out, makes a little bit of an appearance, and then slams the door. And now if you did not get SMILE, you'll actually play the area again until you realize that you have to spell out smile with the doors. So now that's the end of our introductory level, and we continue forth to kind of warp in front of an area in front of a piano. And now we have a 50-50 chance of spawning above the piano or below the piano. And we have 4 different songs that we can play. Usually we get these songs from defeating the bosses, but we actually know what the songs are, so we can get all 4 of our items before we even start the game. Alright, so we unlock, and our first one is going to be these grappling gloves. And we also get an umbrella, a baseball bat, and then a skateboard. And we can use the skateboard pretty much immediately to get over to this next area a little faster, where we do our first major skip of the game. We use the skateboard. Oh, that's interesting. We use the skateboard and an umbrella to kind of get a speed boost, and we can make our way all the way through the whole village without touching the ground until the very end, where we just jump right through. And so we are introduced to our first companion of the game, which is going to be Bird. And Bird is in a bird cage, oddly enough. And so Bird basically says, hey, can you break this bird cage, which we use our bat to open up, and now we have ourselves a companion. And then we make our way to the right to where we'll be introduced to Simeon. And now Simeon heard that Ren was seen going into the sewers, so he tried to follow along. And unfortunately for Simeon, he has an issue where he sometimes inflates, and he inflated right at the entrance of that sewer. So now we're going to actually find Simeon's needle to pop him, but that is actually not going to be the first level that we hit. It's supposed to be the first level, but we're actually going to go to the cemetery first. So make our way over. And then now we have our first major skip of the game, where we're going to hit this swing, and we're going to fly for 12 seconds to the left and then 10 seconds to the right, hoping that we break the 50-50 percentage chance of possibly soft locking the game. So we have to take down this enemy here, and then we swing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let go, and then we hope, bless RNGs, that we actually see a scene skip here. So we just gotta watch for that. If the scene never changes, that means that we are in a soft lock and the run ends. But the scene did change, so now we know that we hit the soft, or that we hit the skip. And we hit a little bad area of the skip, but it's not gonna cost us too much time. So we just trigger this elevator, we go to the right, we come back to the left, the elevator's back down, and we can make our way up and over to our shopkeeper, where we can find out that there are nails available that they will install onto our baseball bat. So we just continue down, we use the platform again, use kind of a little bit of a skip to go up, and make our way over to the first required find of the game, where we have the flying farters that decide that they do not want us to continue forward, so they're gonna hit us a couple of times. Now we have to hit them 3 times to be able to move, or to defeat them, and we have to defeat all 3 before this pillar will drop, which we gotta wait just a second for. Now we go to Peet and Ren's treehouse, where we hopefully can hit this box skip the first time using this little jump here. Nice. So we hit the grown-up, and we come through here, we pick up the nails, we use the elevator drop down and walk to the left to where Bird can actually bring the nails with us over to the shopkeeper and install them onto our bat, which will allow us to break some chains, which you can actually see one hanging in the middle of the room. Once we break that chain, that little orange and black area does turn into a bomb, and that will allow us to knock out some blocks a little later on the level here. So we're gonna use these little areas to jump over, hit our second grown-up, and then continue on. Now you'll see for the first time, if I can hit it, that we broke the chain, and we bring this over to these block areas. There are 4 blocks stacked up, so we're hoping that this actually does break all 4 blocks at once, which it did, so we can continue over to the right. And now we have a second block that we have to take down here. Oh, somehow we went all the way through the platform, but that's okay. Not a problem. We just don't want to get hit by them. So let's bring this over. Now, sometimes this bomb is a dud, so we just hope that it does take out the block the first time. Which it did, very good. All right, so we can wake our 3rd grown-up, which means that we are able to access the boss fight immediately once we get back over here to the left again. So pretty good. Bless RNGs on the game so far. And we drop down to Mr. Peet, or Dr. Smile, who says Mr. Peet goes into a cutscene. And now there's supposed to be 2 cutscenes at this area. It's supposed to be this one that we have playing right now, and then we go and attack all the grown-ups, and then come back, and there's another cutscene that introduces us to our main enemy of area number 1. But since we already hit all 3 grown-ups, we're going to get a immediate boss fight.
Against the rules.
Alright, so now we have our first fight, which is actually character John's dad. It's a representation of him. So now we jump up, and now our main focus is to hit this little light that's on the top of the character's head. We want to hit it as quickly as possible, because if we don't, he can actually go into some attacks that would not be very good for us. It's a time loss. So far it's been pretty good. That's 3 cycles through of 5. Four cycles. Our final cycle is coming up here. There it is. There is our first boss fight taken down. Alright, so now our once you defeat a boss, the notes come down that represent the 5 cycles, and then you have to hit 5 times to get the notes of the song. And we're actually going to make our way to the right here and do a quick little death warp. So we're going to get hit 4 times by these enemies. And then that will take us back to the cemetery entrance, where we will continue our way to the left, pick up Simeon's sewing needle, and then make our way back to Simeon to pop him to open that entrance up to the sewer. So now again, we're going to use that umbrella boost that we get by jumping on the platforms, putting our umbrella out, and then immediately jumping with our umbrella.
Peet, check it
And now
out,
Bird makes themselves useful again by grabbing the Simeon needle right behind us. Oh, we didn't get too much of a boost that time, which means that we're going to get that platform, which is a little bit of a time loss, but that's okay. We just want to get a few hits on these enemies. Alright, so that's 2 on each of them, which is pretty darn good at this point. Alright, oh, I guess it didn't register that second hit, so that's alright. We only got 1 hit left, which isn't too bad. And there we go, that's that fight. That was actually a pretty clean version of that fight right there, because you can actually find yourself pinballing off of all the enemies, and you could die very quickly. So it's actually a very scary scene, especially for a marathon strat area. So now we use the needle, we drop down, and we continue on into the sewers. What we're trying to do is trigger an umbrella, so that we can continue off right and immediately skip ourselves a cutscene. That was actually really clean. So now we triggered the cutscene and the pillar scene at the same time, which is a very big time save. Our second time save is right there, where we drop this water down. We're just gonna play it safe and take out that enemy right there. We got to remember that there is still 1 left though when we come back. Alright, drop in the elevator, making our way through. And now the reason why we hit that lever before is because it drops the water level on that area. So we're going to be rolling our friend Simeon through the sewers completely and picking up a few different scents on him. We have sand, slime, and spider eggs. And so that actually triggers our second boss, because Preston in the sewers, who we don't talk to, actually found that wakens the boss fight.
Just a child.
So now we find out a little bit more about Dr. Smile, saying that he's just a child.
I'm starving, and I need to eat. So I snatched your pal. The perfect treat. A snack like that is said to make your wrinkling skin look young again.
Alright, so now that we got through this cutscene, we make our way to the right again, and we get our sneak peek of the next boss, but we also see Simeon. And it turns out that the boss is Simeon's mom, Mrs. Richardson. So we get through, start to push Simeon, and we see Mrs. Richardson sleeping right there. Like I said, combination of 3 different items actually wakes her up, and we can get through this boss fight. So now there's sand. Simeon is not too happy about the sand being on him. So we can make our way to the right. We got to remember that we do have a spider here though, so we do not want to skateboard. Alright, do take a hit there, but that is okay. That's not too much of a problem. We are going to have a couple of fights coming up. Rolling through the slime, keeping our pace going to the right. Then we hit this ramp. Now we're going to hit the switch to the left here just to knock this little ramp down for Simeon so that he can go through the school bus and continue to the right. But before we go back up there, we want to prep this area just a little bit. So we knock down this elevator, and then we bring this elevator back down again just so that we can immediately start pushing Simeon to the right. And instead of having to wait for that elevator to drop, we just drop down with him, continue on. And then we just want to take this... Actually really good that we took that enemy out first, because we were down a couple hearts, so that did fill our health, and we can continue forth, moving on to this next area. So now we send Simeon down, but we don't ride along with them just because there is an area at the bottom of the screen that is blocked off that we need to hit this trigger over here. So what we're going to try and do this area is hit this trigger and jump immediately to the right to save a little bit of time, but sometimes the cutscene does trigger immediately, and so we actually have to wait for it and don't get that little bit of a boost, but again, it's not that much at all. So we do see Dr. Smile again, and we're not supposed to be able to outrun him, but since we hit that little trigger earlier, we were able to actually get a little bit ahead of him. So now the goal here is to push past these spiders. Doesn't matter that we take a few different hits, although we don't want to die, so this is actually a bad area for us. Whew, okay, so that's going to drop us a little bit on this because we do have a death warp coming up. But since we do have all 3 scents available, we are going to trigger this boss fight, and hopefully she does not do anything fancy that she just immediately tries to dive bomb into us and gives us a heart. So now that's what we're looking for. Mrs. Richardson can be very unfavoring. She does have a head swing that she has that can take out some damage, and it can be 1 time, it can be 5 times. It's just all RNG based. We have no idea how to make it any more or any less. So that's 1, that's 2. Come on, Miss Richardson, please dive down. There we go. So 2 cycle is pretty darn good for that. And now we're on cycle 3, where she starts dropping some of those spiders out, and that gives us even more refill on our health. So she can drop as little as 2 spiders this round, maybe even 1. I don't think I've ever seen 1 before, but she can also do that head tilt. But she gives us a great cycle of just 1 spider drop, which puts us into cycle number 4, where she can drop up to 4 spiders, or she can do the head movement again. So let's see what she decides on us. She's going to do the head bob. She might hit us. No, she missed. Okay. But let's see if we can get her after that. No way. A 1 cycle 4th. There we go. So now we are on our 5th and final cycle for Mrs. Richardson this time around. And you can start to hear the awesome soundtrack as the boss battles play. Just really nice. Hopefully we get ourselves a 2 spider cycle. No, we got a head bomb going. That's fine. She's been very generous so far. Hopefully that is the end of her cycles, and she will try and attack us here soon. She could drop up to 4, like we said, but that was 3 right there. So again, not too bad. And gonna drop more spiders. Okay. Mrs. Richardson, do you want to be nice and actually try and attack me here? There we go. So cycle number 5, and that is the end of Mrs. Richardson. And so all of these come out. We are gonna get our 5th heart, which is a little unfortunate because it does take a little bit longer to do the death worm. Hello, thank you. So now we got to get hit 5 times by 1 spider, which is going to take a little bit of time, but not too bad. And that puts us all the way back to the beginning of the level. And that was a gold split last time around because the RNG was so generous to us. And yeah, that was a huge gold split for us. So Yeah, that was probably the best RNG that we've ever gotten on Mrs. Richardson, so that is absolutely great. So now we are able to continue back to the village, use kind of a little bit of a boost, jump over the spider, jump over our new enemy that we have, which is the grown-up, and then it says something about a storm right here, and we see Dr. Smile in the back with the bird cage, and Dr. Smile is just going to continue on their way back towards the cemetery, but we will see them very soon here. So now we do have what's called the Barbershop Quartet coming up, which means that we're going to go into the barbershop and find ourselves a new song in this area. Now it's a little quick split, but this is actually supposed to be the first song that we learn in the game. But yeah, so we continue our way. And Bird notices that everybody's gone, so wondering where they're all at. So now we make our way to the left, and we will find Dr. Smile again in the background with that bird cage. And so, just wondering what Dr. Smile is doing with that bird cage. So we're going to use a new mechanic here, using the skateboard to ramp up. Now we use that boost again to continue over and find our next, what would be boss battle, Granny. And so Granny has something stuck in her throat. She needs that power factory that's behind her to be turned back on again. And so we will find a way to be able to do that for her. And thankfully, it's not as hard as you would think it would be. So, you just make our way up. And over. So we have Preston that we head on over here. And now we got a required fight, and like we said, these can be just absolutely brutal, especially with all these enemies available for us. We could just ping pong back and forth, but thankfully those enemies decided to group together and give us a pretty nice little pattern. We only have one more hit on this flying farter over here, and now we are ready to move forth into the next area. We just have to hit 4 of these to drop this little platform. And then now we need to head to this. And we head up over here. Now we were supposed to grab a speak and spell. We did actually skip that though, and now we are going to do a menu skip back to the main area of the game, which will allow us to load in at the beginning of the level. But you did notice that we grabbed a gold key before we started menuing, and so I want you to take a look at Bird as they come back on the screen, because we did grab the gold key before we went back to the menu, but that gold key stays in Bird's hands, so, or wings, or whatever you want to call it. And so just zooming out of the left hand side, Bird with that gold key, which we're going to use in the village here, to open up the Booty Bum Clubhouse. So, fortunately, I did not make that up. That is in the name of it. And so we continue over. And now we read a journal. And that actually gave us a name that we were going to use here. And instead of skateboarding, we're going to go really slow. And we're going to find a name in that journal that we just read.
First name, please. There's 3 different. I've got nothing. First name, please. Oh, wow. What? Oh, yeah.
All right, and now that we said that name, we were able to read a letter and get ourselves a little code for outside. That is, we can use this little bomb to go over here and get what's called the sugar blasters. And so we use this bomb to come over and explode this little platform. And that will allow us to get some candy. And sometimes that does happen. That is unfortunate that that happened. That is a dud right there. So we need to go back up again. Get another one. Get some bless RNGs in chat that doesn't happen again. Because that is quite a little bit of a time loss to have to do this again. So I'm going to make sure that this is pressed all the way to that area. And again, there we go. Now we got the sugar blasters. So let's move on back to that area that we were in before. think that's enough to get all the way through. There we go. Nice. All right. It's just a pleasure to have you all in chat tonight. I really do appreciate you joining through. And we're going to use that ramp again to make our way over and then get into this little building right here to where we can give those sugar blasters this young man right here. And so we're able to turn the power back on now, and Granny is finally able to get that thing in her throat out because she can finally cough. So here we go. So now this is supposed to be a boss battle right here, but we do actually skip this. So I'm gonna get Granny's song real quick. That was a really nice time save right there on everything. Now we make our way to the left and we go to this little zone that we skipped before. So now another one of our favorite. Oh, got hit twice there. That's nice. But required battles. So now we got 2 hits on each of those flyers, which means that we should be able to take out most of them right here and have full life going into the next little area. So now making our way to the left, waiting for this platform to drop, we do jump back into this zone, hit this diamond. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we use this wind to go up on the platform. And we drop down and we make our way over to the Blackfork Asylum, which is our final area in the game. Now we use these little areas to get a little bit of a boost. And make our way in. And now this is probably the most interesting room in the game. As you make your way to the right, the game does, or the screen actually spirals, and you start to realize that this may not just be a dream. This may not be a coma. This might be something a little bit deeper. We're able to go in to the Blackfork Asylum. And now these are all the characters that you would have met throughout the game if you were playing it casually. You find out a little bit more about them, that they do have their portraits featured in the Blackfork Asylum, but they're all a little bit older now. So now we just make our way through. There's Dr. Smile in the background, and finally to the end of the hall where we can finally get to a clock where we have to enter the name Peter Smile with 2 E's. Alright, and that does open the door to our final fight. And so we are still a little bit ahead. So we just have to have a really good fight.
Dr. Smile.
So now we find out a little bit more about Dr. Smile, who we are about to battle.
Smile wider than a mile. He drooled a hungry discharge. His pupils began to enlarge.
Peet, you made it to my feast. My children and I now have much to eat. That silly wren.
So you come to find that that what he thought was Ren in the cage the whole time was just a doll that Dr. Smile used to lure him to this final fight.
You are just the appetizer. My children will ravage.
So we have 5 different cycles, just like all battles that have been throughout the game. And Dr. Smile attacks you twice, 3 times, 4 times, 4 times, and then 5 times. So he will add in a new attack each cycle that he has with us. So at first he has the knife throws, which are actually the second quickest attack in the game. So we're just hoping for a lot of knife throws and a lot of 4 spike attacks, which will be incorporated in our next cycle. Now we make our way over here because the room does invert, and so we want to make our way to this platform that you will see. So now we could just jump with our umbrella over out of any danger and hit Dr. Smile. That is cycle number 1. So now, in addition to the knives, he will also have a 4-spike attack here, which will put the switch out in the center that we have to hit. So there's 1 cycle. He has 3 total on this. So 2 cycles. And the knives. So we can go ahead and make our way over, and hopefully he snaps quickly. Come on. You know you want to snap. So now there's the second hit, and another snap. So now this time around, he will have 4 attacks in this one little round. There's 1. 2. And he can do the 4 spikes or the knives. There's 3. Now 1 more. We're hoping for the 4 spikes again. But nope, we got knives. That's fine. Just make our way over. And now he'll snap again. So now we have our umbrella attack. And now on our final attack, instead of having to go through all of this dropping, we'll actually immediately trigger the final cutscene. But now this time around, he will do 4 attacks, and he will introduce a new attack, which is we'll see right here. And this is the slowest attack out of all of them. It's a laser that he puts all the way around the room. We're hoping for more knives and 4 spikes. That's 2. 3. Alright, 4. This actually works out well for us because this is the final attack in the cycle, so we can make our way over to the left in safety zone. And he snaps again. So now we drop down, we attack him, and now he is in the final 5th cycle. And you'll notice that his wardrobe does change a little bit. He does lose his coat, and he does start to look a little bit more like our main character. So kind of gives you a little bit of a idea of what's going on with Dr. Smile. And our main character is Peet. We entered Peter's Smile. So there's 2. There's 5 in this round. 5 attacks. Very good. We got 4 spikes, 2 of them so far. That's the quickest that we can get. Nice. So 1 more attack. Perfect. That's huge. Doesn't matter. Alright. So now, like I said, as soon as we attack him here, it's going to trigger that final cutscene. There we go. And that does not get us time yet. The time does happen after we get Dr. Smile's song, and then we play it on the piano. So we're going to go into a cutscene and then awake at the piano again.
Sang loud and true, and reminded me of you. I'm sorry, Ren. I missed your call. I'm sorry that I wasn't there at all.
Alright, so this is our final song that we have to play, D, C, D, E, A. And so we'll awake at the piano, and time does end once we play the final note. All right, so that is a 34-minute and 35-second
Your song
run right there.
reminded me of when we were kids.
And now we trigger our final
Just
cutscene.
me and Ren. And in this coma, high up above, my one true love whispers.
Wake up.
That is the official story of Neversong. Once again, this is a game by Atmos Games, Serenity Forge, Neversong. I am WarwickSTL, and thank you so much for viewing this submission. Apologies. Ah! I forgot there's a candle burning right under me. Don't clip that.